this warning, but you'll notice that just to the southwest of Ash Grove, we've kind of zoomed in. We still have this appendage coming down off of this thunderstorm, and this may be some sort of a hook echo that's trying to develop with a potential tornado. So they're focusing, notice how the polygon focuses on this end right here. That is where any potential tornado would develop. And of course, we're getting pretty close to the radar, so they're only seeing this rotation a few hundred feet off of the ground. So there is a pretty good probability that something may occur very quickly tonight. And we want folks that are going to be in the vicinity of southwest of Ash Grove, north of Halltown, to be in their tornado shelter. Now, this thunderstorm has been moving to the east, and so it is going to parallel Highway 266. And that is going to be right here. You can see that coming out of northwestern Springfield and is the old Chestnut Expressway. So if you follow Chestnut Expressway west, it turns into 266 and will eventually take you out to Halltown. So folks that live out there and just north of there on all those farm roads between 266 and Willard, I need for all of you to begin moving to your tornado shelter, or at least gathering things up. Make sure that if you're ready for bed, that you get properly dressed. Put proper shoes on tonight, and make sure you get the kids out of bed and get them with you as well, and move to your safe space. Now again, turn the sound up on your television set so that you can hear us give you instructions for the duration of this warning. Also, if you have your phone with you, grab the charger. Make sure you have that plugged in, so that way, in case you can get that phone charged up in case we lose power tonight. And that is something that we've seen quite frequently with some of these thunderstorms tonight as well. So again, we do have this tornado warning. It covers northeastern Lawrence County and Greene County until 11 o'clock tonight. And you'll notice how that does include all of the city of Springfield. And of course, I can hear the sirens going off in town. You're probably aware of that as well. We have a little while. We probably have about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes or so before that potential tornado would make it into the west side of Springfield. But again, you don't want to waste any time. Now, the other thing about this too is that it is dark outside. This may be rain wrapped. There is that possibility tonight as well. So stepping outside to actually view this is going to be futile because you're not actually going to see the tornado tonight. What you will see is an awful lot of lightning. Nick.
Spotters have confirmed a tornado with this run near Ash Grove, or 10 miles northwest of Republic. So we do have a tornado in progress with this storm.
Okay, so we have spotters on this storm. They have confirmed a tornado. So folks, now we need to get everybody to heighten their level of awareness tonight and again move towards your tornado shelter. So while we're talking about tornado shelters, let's talk about where to go and what to do. Now, if you have a below ground storm shelter, that is going to be the best place to go. If you have one outdoors, of course, you'll want to get there pretty quickly. Make sure you lock the doors. If you have a basement, certainly go down to the basement, but I want you to get in the northeast corner of the basement. So try to get as far away from the storm as you can there. You'll want to take shelter under a sturdy piece of furniture, take shelter under the stairs, pool table. A lot of folks have those in their basement. Those offer a little extra protection. Take down some pillows and blankets. Make yourself comfortable, but you'll want to protect your head in case we get flying debris. Now, again, you want to go to the northeast corner of the basement. In case the dwelling gets picked up, it'll get shifted in the direction of the track of the storm. So that's typically southwest to northeast, and we want to keep a roof over your head to protect you from flying debris. If you're in the southwest corner, which is what they used to tell you when I was a kid, and then all of a sudden the house has gone above the top of you and you're subjected to the flying debris, and we don't want anybody to be subjected to that. Now, there are some exceptions to the northeast corner, and that is if that's where the furnace or the hot water heater or the fuse box, if you happen to have a wood stove downstairs, you'll want to stay away from anything that could catch fire, and you'll want to make sure that you have some sort of an escape route. So kind of think about all of those things. If not the northeast corner, try the center of the basement. That's the next best place to go. Now, if you don't have a basement, you just have a single-story house, you want to move to interior sections, such as an interior hallway, an interior bathroom that doesn't have any windows, a walk-in closet, for example, or a very large pantry. All of those will offer added protection. What you want to do is put as many walls between you and the outside, because if there is debris that's being flung at 80 to 100 miles an hour, it can penetrate easily windows or outside walls, and you want to try and have as much protection around you as you can. Also, those smaller areas, they're more structurally sound. They don't tend to give way. And in many of the tornadoes that I've looked at over the years, it is always an interior closet or a pantry that is standing, even though the rest of the house may be gone. So, again, you'll want to get properly dressed, get shoes on your feet in case there's flying glass, there's going to be splinters and metal around there. Those are some things that you'll want to avoid. If you have a bicycle or motorcycle helmet, you want to try to protect your head if you can. I know that may look funny, but again, we're trying to increase your odds of being healthy in this. Stay away from anything that could catch fire. And again, grab the KY3 First Alert Weather app, because if the power does go out, remember, you can watch our live streaming on the KY3 Weather app. So you can watch the radar on there. You can check out what we're doing. You can watch some of the videos, because we'll be sending out information on those videos. And again, we can geo-target you. So if something shows up that says it's for you specifically, information that's important to you, please watch that video. It may be giving you more timely information than other sources that you may run across. So again, that's very important there. Now, as far as the radar picture goes this evening, let's try to zoom in on this just a little bit more, and let me get really close to this storm. It is going to be just to the west of the Bodark area. So folks that are in Bodark, I need for you to move to your tornado shelters right now. If you live in Elwood, which is going to be just to the southwest of the radar at the airport off of AB Highway, and some of those areas out there, I need for you to start moving to your tornado shelter, as that system is moving in on you right now. So I can also kind of look at some other things here. Let's go ahead and see if we have any debris with this thunderstorm. And there may be a little bit of debris starting to show up here just to the west of the Bodark. This is right at the apex of that spinning. You can see some higher reflectivity there. It's not really solid, and I'm looking for something that's going to be kind of a cellular, circular in nature out in here, but this may be something that we'll have to concern ourselves with, especially if they were reporting a tornado. And again, a tornado is defined as a violently rotating column of air in contact with the ground. If it's not in contact with the ground, then it would be, of course, a funnel cloud. But again, all of this is moving over towards the Bodark area, and eventually this is going to take it just a little bit to the north of the Elwood area. We do have that train track in there, so folks that live and know about that train track, if you're a mile either side of that train track, again, I need for you to especially be in your tornado shelter. Willard is up here. An AB highway kind of runs right in this vicinity, right in here. So about 3 or 4 miles to the south of Willard, all the way to Elwood. I need for those folks, again, to be paying attention to what's happening in that vicinity. Let's take a look at the velocities, because we've had some pretty strong winds tonight, and you can see those right there. If I take off the so we get a better look at it, we do have, it's not real tight, but right in the vicinity of Bodark, there's a little bit of higher red reflectivity here, and then this green over here. So this right in here would be where the tornado is right now. So that is going to be just a couple of miles or a mile or so southwest of Bodark. And then you'll notice here's 266 in here, so it's going to be a little to the northwest of the 266 area. And again, all of this is translating east. So again, that's going to take it over pretty close to the Elwood area, south of Willard. So that's what I'm watching. The rest of this is going to produce really high winds. All that high wind activity is going to come into 160. into the area of Willard tonight, so be prepared for some power outages up in the Willard area as well. Nick, did you have some information?
No new reports as of late, Ron, but the latest indication on the warning says they're still going observed with this in terms of a tornado in progress. Last area of rotation was trying to pin itself near Willard, and in terms of practicing what we preach, the Weather Service employees out near the airport have actually taken shelter as this is approaching not just the radar site, but their office and the Springfield airport as well. So if they're going to their safe place, everybody else should too if they're in that tornado warning.
And again, this is what we're watching, this bump right in here, because this would be the rotation in the storm, and notice how it's kind of dragging the dry air or drier air back into the heavier rainfall. So this would be the area of rotation. And again, this is moving eastward, and you'll notice that if we take that on east, it runs right into the radar site, and the radar is right over the top of the National Weather Service in Springfield. So it's probably wise that they're taking shelter. Now, also, our news folks may want to check with the airport. They're probably also taking shelter out of the airport since it's right next door to the National Weather Service. I'm sure that the planes are going to be delayed, so you're going to have some issues with the aircraft out there tonight. That is going to be very important. Looks like we're starting to get maybe this whole thing is kind of moving into the Elwood area right now. This higher intensity that just showed up here, that may be some sort of a real strong rear flank downdraft or some sort of wind that's coming out of this other one that's popping these intensities up very, very quickly. So I wouldn't be surprised if Brookline starts to get, and that's going to be part of the Republic area now, starts to get some really high winds, starts moving into that portion of Greene County, and eventually that's going to swing eastward along the James River Freeway out in here. That's this intersection right here. So maybe some really strong winds in that vicinity. There's the fireworks plant out there. And of course, you have Chestnut Expressway coming in over here. That's going to be out by the truck stop. And then all of this is going to begin swinging eastward, and that is going to affect southwestern Springfield, also the Battlefield area. If you live in Battlefield, you may want to expect some very high winds with that as well tonight. Now, the other thing, too, to keep in mind, and let me kind of get rid of this for a second, I'll just put that in my pocket, is that because you're over the radar site, there's this cone of silence. And see how you kind of drop these intensities off right there? That's about a couple mile radius around the airport, and so the radar can't look straight up. And so what's happening is that you get to a point at about 45 degrees or so, you just really can't go in, and it looks too funny because what you wind up doing is you start picking up the jet stream and the mid-level winds and things like that, and it just gives you really odd reflectivity. But this whole thing, again, is moving on to the east tonight, and what we can track, and then that is going to take it over just to the south of the airport. When you get off and kind of go up, you've got that roundabout up here on Division Street. So that whole area is going to get these high winds as well tonight. And then up here by Ritter Springs is getting some pretty high winds, pretty high reflectivity, probably some very heavy rain there as well. And it looks like the storm is now just getting into the west side of Willard, although when you get out here by the bullseye where 123 shoots off to the north and west, already you're getting some very heavy rain in that part of Willard. And then what you're doing down here is you're actually getting into town proper. So this is going to be in downtown. It's probably not to the high school just yet, but it is going to be there very quickly. So if you live in the vicinity of the high school or the old junior high school, that is where that storm is presently located. Of course, it's going to affect the Frisco Trail. And then you move eastward from there. You've got the quarry out in here as well, probably starting to get into some heavy rain there as well. And then, of course, if you go northwest all the way between, say, Bodark and Ash Grove, those roads out there all picking up some very heavy rain and potentially some hail too. Dick?
We're just double checking a few things behind the scenes here, Ron. In fact, Paul Adler brought to my attention that these storms are having an impact on a couple of flights trying to arrive to the airport. Right. 2 flights out of Dallas are being delayed as of last report. We're going to check to see if any other flights are being diverted. And I don't know if we want to take our tower cam full. We have that up and running, and if we were to take that full, it is pointing to the north and west, and we're keeping a close eye on that horizon, Ron. But so far, all I'm seeing is this lightning as the storm continues to come on in. Haven't seen any signs of concentrated flashing or power flashes, which would suggest damaging winds, which will impact almost the entirety of Greene County. But we'll also watch for power flashes with the tornado if it is still confirmed and in progress. But for now, it looks pretty calm from our vantage point as the sirens start to sound again here in Greene County.
Right, and you make some good points there. You can always watch the KY3 First Alert weather app. Remember, you can access all of our cameras, and we have pointed that tower camera out to the west, so you can keep an eye on that and monitor that for yourself. But you can monitor all of the cameras from this across southwest Missouri and northern Arkansas and kind of check out the weather close to your location tonight and see what's going on. So while you're waiting a word from us, just go ahead and peruse the KY3 First Alert weather app. There's lots of good information on there. We also have a considerable amount of information on the eclipse. And as you said, Nick, as you're watching the camera tonight, you'll want to watch not only for the lightning strikes, but if you do see any power flashes on the horizon, that may be an indication that we're getting some sort of strong winds or a potential tornado. And as we look out to the northwest, we certainly don't see any of that from the vantage point on our tower tonight. I did want to kind of take a look real quick to see what the winds were doing with this. Or what kind of
and in
winds.
that case, if we can go back to Max 1, please, to look at what Ron is saying.
So if we, I do have to take off this tornado warning in order to kind of query some of this. So look a little bit to see what's happening with these winds. North side of Willard, we're getting winds, and the plus minus means it's either coming at us or going away from us, and so that's a function of the Doppler radar. The speed that's attached to that is still the actual speed. So in this case, we're seeing winds of 55 miles per hour out there by the bullseye at 123 and 160 in northwestern Willard. And then you move down just a little bit. There's a 47 mile per hour wind. In the Elwood area right now, there's about a 40 mile per hour wind. And then just southwest of there down towards 266, there's winds of 38 miles per hour. And I continue to hear the sirens sounding here.
Polk, eastern Greene County, much of Webster, southern Dallas, and southwestern Laclede County, with that polygon edge stopping just shy of Lebanon. But even though that's not a tornado warning, that storm could still pack quite a punch with any heavy pockets in those cores, these reflectivity cores, trying to produce up to 2-inch diameter hail, and at the very least 70 mile per hour winds. So this is a heads up for everybody along and east of 65. The storms coming through Springfield and Bolivar now, they are continuing marching east.
Yeah, so in looking at the Doppler radar, any tornado, Nick, if you come back to Max 1, is going to be right over the airport. So we have really high reflectivities down here and up in here as well. And this is an indication that this thing is rotating counterclockwise, and you'll notice that the airport is going to be right in the center of that. So if there is a tornado, it is going to be very close to the airport. Now, that is going to be right along Kearney Street on the west side down towards the old terminal, and that is going to take it along the old Willard road. So if you have some business or a home, there are several homes out there, that takes it down to the southern part of the Frisco that junctions into Kearney Street, and that's going to be just west of the Sheridan Inn. Folks, in that vicinity, that is where the tornado is going to be located right now. Now, this will move eastward and probably just south of, or just along Kearney Street, or maybe just a little south of Kearney Street tonight. Folks up here towards the old Baptist Bible College and need to be in their tornado shelter. Areas along and just south of the zoo also need to be in their tornado shelter. Any of the businesses that are up there at Kearney and, say, Kansas Expressway, folks there need to be in a tornado shelter as well. And then that extends back westward. There's a farm implement out there. There's some apartments that are out here along the old West Bypass. All you folks need to be moving to shelter. And speaking of apartments, you'll want to get down. I think those are like 3-story apartments. You'll want to move down out of the second and third floor and take shelter in the first floor apartment. Move basically to the bathroom. Typically, they put all of those in the center, and they're stacked one on top of each other for, the second floor, third floor, or all over the first floor. So that's where you want to be going. Make sure you close the door. That'll give you an added extra amount of protection tonight. But again, if you live in those apartments, get to the lowest floor possible. Stay away from windows. And when you do get into the bathroom, make sure that you can take shelter in the bathtub. Get pillows or blankets to cover your head, and stay away from the windows. You don't want to be looking because these winds in here are very strong, and there could be lots of flying debris in the air. But again, this is all is continuing to track off to the east tonight and is impacting northwest Springfield. Now, down in here, there's probably some really high winds going on in the Brookline area. That is going to be where Republic has kind of incorporated a lot of that area now. But that is going to be moving just to the north. This is James River Expressway right in here. And then this is going to be FF Highway, extends down into Battlefield. So from north of Battlefield all the way up towards Sunshine. So that's going to include the Walmart Supercenter out there at Sunshine and West Bypass. Need for you guys to kind of be moving towards the center of the store in case you get some really high winds. The Menards is out there. You'll want to take shelter, get out of those places with high ceilings and move into the restrooms or any tornado shelters that they have there. And of course, Rutledge Wilson Farm and all the neighborhoods that are out there off of those roads are also going to be wanting to move to the center of your house and take shelter from some potentially high winds that are moving through your area as well. And again, it looks like the center of the circulation is going to be over the airport and then moving right down West Kearney. Nick.
I think we need to put back the tornado warning polygons, Ron, because the National Weather Service actually put out a new tornado warning. This will be for northern Webster, southern Dallas, Laclede, southwestern Laclede, southeastern Polk, and northeastern Greene until 11:15. Last check of that rotation was near Pleasant Hope, or 11 miles northwest of Stratford. It's moving east at 40. And just some of the locations impacted: Elkland, Glidewell, Ebenezer, Brighton, Charity, Phillipsburg. If you are in those cities, near those communities, or anywhere in that new red tornado warning polygon, this storm went back to radar indicated, but not too long ago, we did have a recent report of a tornado when it was passing near Halltown and not too far from Bodark. So if you are just getting alerts on your phone, be sure that you're getting to your safe place right now. Ron?
All right. So on that new tornado warning that was issued for northeastern Greene County, there is a fairly strong circulation that's located right in here, and that's going to be just to the west of Fair Grove. And so folks up there, I think that's BB Highway that goes on over, or CC Highway, I think. It's one of the two. Anyway, I think it's CC Highway, actually goes over to Fair Grove. This thing is coming right down that path. And so if you live in Fair Grove or west of Fair Grove, this tornado is going right across northeastern Greene County right now. So again, that has prompted the warning. You can kind of see the inflow notch in there and the bulge in here. And even if they don't have a tornado, there's going to be some really high winds in that core as well. And notice how that extends down to this other core that's right over the airport. And then notice how we've developed some really strong thunderstorms northwest of Halltown. So all of this heavy rain is going to continue moving east, and you're likely to wind up with an inch or more. So we may actually see some localized flooding take place here in the next hour or so. So be very cautious if you're going to be out traveling tonight for a number of reasons. It's best to just stay home and take shelter. So again, the new tornado warning has been issued for sections of Polk County, which is going to be basically south of Pleasant Hope. H Highway is up in there. So folks up on an H Highway extending down into northeastern Greene County, you are going to be in the path of this storm. CC Highway all the way over to Fairgrove, sections of Highway 65 around the Fairgrove area, about 1 or 2 miles, maybe a little more either side of Fairgrove. I need for you guys to be in your tornado shelter. This not only could contain the tornado, but it looks like it also has some extremely high winds with it. And then you notice how this other line of showers is developing in here. Often that's not a good sign. Where these intersect is oftentimes where you get some of the strongest circulations, and you have sort of this what we call horizontal vorticity. So in the air, as you run air along very quickly, you can create these barrels of rolling air. And what happens is that barrel of roll happens like this because of that. And then this one comes along rotating like this. And it's like a big vacuum, and it kind of sucks up that air and lifts it up. And that's what forms the actual funnel of the tornado. So again, from Fairgrove West right along this boundary, I need for all of you to be in your tornado shelter as well. Nick, you have an update?
Yeah, and it's a good thing you reiterated again for people in that area to be in their safe place, because they have upgraded this to an observed tornado with the potential to produce considerable damage. They are calling this a confirmed large and extremely dangerous tornado located over Fairgrove, 9 miles northwest of Stratford. It's moving to the east at 40. So everybody in that polygon near Pleasant Hope, north of Stratford, with that polygon going into northern Webster and southwestern Laclede, if you are not in your safe place right now, you need
make sure you turn the sound up on the television set so you can hear the instructions that we're giving you, and make sure that you get dressed tonight. That is the most important thing. If you have damage to your structure, and we hope that you don't, we don't want you to compound that by going outside cutting your feet. And make sure you have proper shoes on, or boots, work boots. Make sure that you're dressed. Make sure that you have something on your head. If you have a motorcycle, a football helmet, a bicycle helmet, anything like that. I know it kind of looks kind of strange, but we need to protect your head. We don't want you to be injured that way tonight. So make sure that you do that. And again, we're going to continue to watch this. Also, there seems to be kind of this line of debris too, or this line of higher reflectivity right along the leading edge of that wind field that we've been talking about, stretching down towards the airport. And so again, this is going to take you back over sort of towards the McDaniel Lake area tonight. So folks in that vicinity probably getting some really high winds, and you can see how all of this is going to move across North Springfield and northeastern Greene County tonight. And so again, the tornado warning's now been extended over into Webster County and a small portion of southern Dallas County tonight. That may eventually take it over towards Charity and Marsh. They're off of M Highway. Pleasant Hope is getting some really heavy rains right now, and you can see how we have some really interesting reflectivity signatures going on. Here's an increase in the signature here. That's going to be some high winds coming out of that potential circulation. So again, some really strong winds are going to pound this area from Fellows Lake now all the way up to the Fair Grove area. So folks up there off of KK Highway, you're getting some really strong winds right now. That is going to be moving over towards the sections of 125 coming out of Stratford up towards Fair Grove. Folks over there need to be taking shelter. There's a mobile home park that's up in there. You guys need to really make sure that you're taking shelter from those dwellings as well. And again, this is going to be moving along north of I-44 right through the Springfield area, and it's currently pounding away in the Willard area as well. Nick?
Fresh update on the original tornado warning that went out for Greene County, including Springfield, Ron. We have lost signs of the rotation, which is a good thing. So at the top of the hour, that tornado warning will be allowed to expire, which means the tornado threat for Springfield will temporarily wane down a little bit, and unless something ramps up, our main focus will be on that rotation you've been tracking near Fair Grove and Pleasant Hope.
Okay, so what's left of that storm that we initially issued the warning for south of us tonight, and you can see that right in the Fair Grove area right there. So folks in Fair Grove, I need for you to be in your tornado shelter. So what's happening is the wind is coming out of the south here and it's going out of the north here. And so the tornado is going to be right here, just to the north of Fair Grove, where 65 crosses into Dallas County. Now that's going to take it south of Olive and kind of south of the Charity and Marsh area here. M Highway runs right up in this vicinity here. And then you'll notice this is Highway 215 that comes into 65. So we're talking about an area well south of there. And here's 125 coming up into the east side of Fair Grove. So if you kind of picture this whole area between M Highway and 125 at 65 Junction, again, this is where I need folks to be in the tornado shelter tonight. And again, that's going to move right along the Dallas County, Greene County line, and eventually just to the south of the Elkland area in the northwestern sections of Webster County. So folks over there, again, be prepared for the weather to drastically change or rapidly change tonight as this storm comes into that area there. Have we had any damage reports reported, Nick?
Let's see. At last check, I haven't seen anything, but in terms of a recent report in general, the Dallas County Emergency Management is reporting power out in the city of Buffalo as these storms pass on through. Other than that, we're still keeping a close eye on that rotation. Haven't seen any other damage otherwise, Ron.
Okay. So as we look at what we call the correlation coefficient or the debris ball, again, we're seeing some higher returns out here. This is where 125 is going to go back west into Fair Grove, but this is going to be northern 125 just to the east of Highway 65 and just on the east side of Fair Grove. Outside of that, I don't see any real huge concentration in the vicinity of these storms, but that is the one area that I would watch for any potential tornado. And again, this is going to be moving eastward and eventually just to the south of Elkland by about 4 or 5 miles or so here in northwestern Webster County. So folks over there, again, be alert that you have potential really severe weather headed your way tonight. And again, that tornado warning remains in effect for a while. Nick, how long does that tornado warning go again?
Let me double check behind the scenes here. If I remember, it should be 11:15. Okay. And it is 11:15.
11:15 tonight. I want to take this off and kind of take a look at these winds, because look at these winds in the Fair Grove area. That's 70 miles per hour there, folks. There's another one, 68 miles per hour, 69.
Wow. Yeah, Ron, if that's not spinning something up, that's at least damaging straight line winds coming through there.
Really strong straight line winds. So we're going to have power outages. There's going to be some minor structural damage. If you have a trampoline, you may find that. You may not find that. There's going to be some shingle damage to roofs. There's going to be some tree damage up there. Power lines are going to be down. So folks need to really be moving to the center of the house tonight and taking shelter because we have some extremely strong winds that are moving through the Fairgrove area at the present time. In fact, it goes from Fairgrove all the way up to the county line on 65 where it junctions into Dallas County. And again, all of that is moving on to the to the east tonight. So again, that far northeastern corner of Greene County is really going to bear the brunt of some really high winds here in the next few minutes or so. And it looks like it's in the scan. You can see how fast between a couple of scans it's gone from the Fairgrove area into northwestern Webster County already. And that is affecting sections of Highway 38 tonight. So let's just kind of see whether or not those winds have held together. And they may have come down just a little bit. There's 50 mile per hour there. More 50, 51. So again, the winds have come down a little bit, but that's not surprising. Once they slam to the ground as they move out, they do encounter friction with the surface and they will slow down. But there is this really, really nice bow echo. And what I mean by that is that you'll notice that right in here, we have this bow, and it's the center of that bow that's going to be just to the north of where 38 turns back to the north. Right in here, you're getting slammed with really, really high winds. And so this is going to continue to follow Highway 38 and come in just to the north side of Marshfield. And then that is going to take that back out over I-44. So folks up there by the new exit, and the other exit that's just to the north of there, you folks are going to really catch some really high winds. Now that's going to be probably to the southwest of the rest stop that's up in there. But again, this is going to be northern sections of Webster County tonight, really catching some very high winds. Doesn't look a lot like circulation. It really looks more like really high straight line winds. But we can kind of put that on there as well tonight and see if we pick up any more of those. Not a whole lot. There may be a little minor circulation, and I'll show you as I kind of zoom in here. There's not really a tight circulation, but we do have some reds opposite some greens, so if there is a circulation left. And again, we can have these really small tornadoes in meteorology. Quasi-linear tornadoes, QLCS tornadoes, convective segments, kind of spin up in here, and that would not be unusual on the north side of those bow echoes. So maybe some smaller, these would be rain wrapped. Typically the tornado track is 100 yards or so, and it's maybe or a quarter mile, maybe 100 yards wide, maybe half-mile long pass. But that's not unusual to get that kind of very small tornadoes. That'd be rain-wrapped. You won't be able to see them. But again, that's going to be about, I don't know, I'd say a mile, maybe a half mile or so to the north of Highway 38. And again, that's going to be moving eastward tonight. Alrighty, so that's what we're seeing with that particular tornado warning. Let me put the reflectivity back on here so you can kind of orient yourself to where the storm is, and we can take a look at that. And let me move out just a little bit so you can see these things just a little bit better. All right, well, I'm encouraged because I'm not really seeing any kind of hook echo. What I am seeing is the really strong bow echo that's taking aim on Highway 38. So see the bow right in here? So your strong winds are going to be right here at the apex of the bow, and you can see that's right on Highway 38. If there is a small tornado, it is going to be on the north side, right up in here. So that is, I'm sure, what the forecasters and the radar operator is going to be looking at tonight. Now, back down a little farther, we'll have to watch some of this area. It looks like we're getting some stronger thunderstorms kind of moving across the city of Springfield. There may be some higher winds that try to develop along this because that's also looking a little bit like a kind of a bow echo kind of in there. So they may not be real strong. Sometimes you can't tell with bow echoes if it's a 30 mile or 40 mile per hour wind versus something that's going to be 70 or 80 miles per hour. So sometimes they're a little bit deceiving, but we noticed in the winds tonight, when we looked at those and investigated those, the wind speeds were over 50 miles per hour with that. All right, Nick.
I don't know if you want to take a breather, Ron, and if you
I
want
do want to take a break.
All right, if you want to.
And by the way, Brandon's here too, so I want to let everybody know there's three of us in here tonight, and he is getting some other things ready. So, Nick, why don't you come on in here and let me get a drink of water and I'll turn it over to you.
I'll get to the wall in a moment, but if we have enough time to do so, I wanted to go over some of the power outages that we have seen across parts of the area. And I will walk over to the touch, and we will get everybody up to speed on what these storms have done in terms of whether it was power outages by straight line winds as these storms came on through, or these possible tornadoes. You can see this is just from the Missouri Electric Cooperatives. It may not include everybody, but we do have a number of outages starting to show up here across parts of Dade County, Polk and Greene counties. But surprisingly, if last we checked with city utilities, it's encouraging to hear that we don't have any outages in terms of what city utilities serve in the city of Springfield and other parts of the area. We do have some outages, anywhere from 1 to 99 reported customers out of power for parts of Benton County, Polk County, and then working into Webster County. But the numbers surprisingly tick up a little more as you work into Laclede County, anywhere from 500 and potentially up to 1,000 customers without power. So this is going to be a bit of a work in progress. I don't do PR for electric utilities, but I would imagine if your power is out, patients will be rewarded. They will, when it's safe, send crews out to get power restored in the meantime. In the meantime, though, I want to double check with Paul Adler. In case, did I miss anything, Paul, that we need to bring
I was just going to say, if you click on these right here, you can get a good look. Camden County, surprisingly to me anyway, had the most outages, a little more than 500 there. And I'm expecting this number in Dallas County of 68 to increase. Now, if we look at the state in total, you look at the state overall, right now about 4,300 customers without power statewide. So, Nick, these numbers are new, and I'm sure they're just getting reported, and I expect them to grow over time.
It would not be surprising at all, Paul, if those numbers continue to increase. Of course, we'll keep checking in with all the utilities across the Ozarks to see if any more outages are reported, and we will pass it along to them. In the meantime, though, let's actually take Max 2 full while Ron is taking care of Max 1 behind the scenes here, because what I want to do is give everybody a reset. Yes, go ahead, Ron.
Checking these wind speeds. So right now, Nick, we have winds between 30 and 40 miles per hour coming across Springfield. In Webster County, the winds are still 40 to 50 miles per hour. And it's all basically straight line winds. I haven't seen any circulations at all. So as far as the hail size, there was some hail size around dimes to nickels. It looks like the hail size has come down, and the main threat that we're looking at right now appears to be the really high wind. So with that, I will let you take back over.
He's talking to one of our producers right
now. Oh, okay. All righty. So while he's doing that, I can tell you that by looking at this radar, see this darker green line right in there? That's an outflow boundary. So that's where those high winds are going to be concentrated along this storm as it moves across the Ozarks. So right now, those high winds are going to be moving into Laclede County, portions of Webster County, southern Greene County, and you're getting some higher winds even in Stone and in Berry counties where you don't even have any thunderstorms tonight. So again, it's going to be this darker green line in here is where we're seeing these winds turn out of the northwest, and that's outflow, that's cool outflow, so you may notice the temperatures kind of take a bump downwards. Now keep in mind, as you get down in here into northeastern Oklahoma, here comes about the third wave of thunderstorms that are coming out of Oklahoma up into southwest Missouri. So even though you haven't had a lot of activity, say from Mount Vernon and Freistadt down towards the Cassville area, that may change in the next hour or so as these thunderstorms translate out of Oklahoma into southwest Missouri and may actually clip a small portion of northwestern Arkansas. And we'll watch all of this continue to track on to the east-northeast tonight at about 35 miles an hour. So that's how fast those storms are moving this evening. Again, all modes of severe weather are possible, including tornadoes, very large hail, and very damaging winds. We have seen a couple of the, it looks like we just picked up a new tornado watch too, just came in here in the yellow, and this includes some counties that had not been previously included, like Dent County, Texas County, Wright, Douglas, Christian, Taney County, and this area in here. So that is now going until 3 o'clock in the morning. This still does not include West Plains or down towards Gainesville, and it still does not include any of northern Arkansas. So again, the Storm Prediction Center just issuing that tornado watch until 3 o'clock in the morning. Of course, we've got you covered. Nick and I are here, and Brandon is also here getting ready, so we'll be able to seamlessly walk you through the severe weather for the rest of the night. So go ahead, Nick. I see you're ready to go.
Yeah, I was just taking care of things behind the scenes here. When it's safe to send crews out, as soon as we get confirmed reports of any damage, we'll get a much better idea of what those storms did. In the meantime, though, let's actually switch back to a Max 1 if we could, so the chief can take care of things behind the scenes here. What we're going to do again here is take another reset here. Take this view out a little bit more, and if you somehow happen to be just joining us, what we're going to do is just take a wide view, take a breath, and let's just break down what we have in place still. Let me take off the radar data first to show you that we do have still at least some counties north and west of Springfield being cleared from the tornado watch as these batches of thunderstorms continue to clear off to the north and east. But I do want to say that for parts of the area that Ron mentioned earlier that weren't really involved in the original tornado watch, places like, let's say Taney County, maybe Eastern Christian County, this is I believe it's Douglas County, and then working up toward Webster, Wright County, Texas County, and then working back up toward Pulaski, Phelps, and Dent counties. This is a kind of extension of the original tornado watch. They just added a few more counties to the list here, and this will go until 3 o'clock in the morning. But like we've been saying, once we go deeper into the overnight, our severe threat will continue to thankfully and gradually wind on down as these storms pass on through. Let's check, though. We do have a good portion of a severe thunderstorm warning clipping eastern parts of Greene County, much of Webster County, southwestern Laclede County, stopping just shy of Lebanon, southern parts of Dallas County and southeastern Polk County. Bolivar not included in that severe thunderstorm warning polygon, but even if it's a severe thunderstorm warning polygon, we encourage you to still take these seriously, since if you aren't involved in a tornado warning, these are going to be violent storms in their own right, with still potential wind speeds. If I could pull up one of the queries here within the severe thunderstorm warning, it is still showing, well, at least it's encouraging to see the wind speeds back off just a little bit. Let me move the box back over here to point out that even if you aren't involved in this tornado warning, which covers the southern end of the polygon near Marshfield and marching all the way up 44, stopping just shy of Conway, this yellow polygon still needs to be treated with respect here, because within these heavier cores, you're talking about strong updrafts in here and vigorous, at least mid-level rotation, trying to produce hail up to the size of 2 inches in diameter, which is about the size of a, well, let's say a lime or a hen egg, if you will. But along the leading edge here, winds easily could still push up to 70 miles per hour. Plus, first and foremost, we are still keeping a close eye on our tornado warning, which at last check still expires at 11:15. And I'm going to step off for a moment behind the scenes here and see if there's any indication about a tornado warning possibly being extended. Ron, I don't know if you've had a chance to look. Have you gotten any word on whether they want to extend that tornado warning?
Well, I've sort of been looking. My guess is probably not, Nick. I mean, looking at the structure of the storm, it all looks like bow echoes going out. And so it's going to be really high wind damage with this particular cell as it goes east into Webster and parts of Laclede County and maybe eventually into Wright County as well. They haven't, they had the warning out for the considerable damage. That was at about 11:06. Right now we're sitting at 11:13. So they're still considering that. They're still working on it in northern Webster County. They said they did have some sort of a debris signature with that, and so that's why they're going to carry that forward. But as we look at the radar signature, it's more outflow boundary-ish, more so than tornado-y. But again, you can get those rain-wrapped tornadoes in the north end of that bow echo. So I think it's wise that we move people to shelter and we err on the side of caution.
So given how this warning, unless something changes, is set to expire at 11:15, should we remain on the air for the duration of the severe thunderstorm warning? Or
Looks like
there's our answer
They
there.
just issued a new tornado warning. So,
All right, let's break this down
that
for
one's
everybody
going to
here.
be, let's see if we can get that. It's going to be until 11:45 tonight. It's going to include southern Laclede County in southwestern Missouri. And right now, Nick, they say that the severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Conway, or 11 miles southwest of Lebanon, moving east at 40 miles per hour.
Okay, and if it thankfully continues on that course, this would leave downtown Lebanon out of the tornado warning polygon, but this is a good close-up view of who's in and who's out of the tornado warning polygon here. We're going to be watching for this leading edge of the line and any spin-ups around Phillipsburg, down to Conway, a well-traveled area for me right along I-44. But here's downtown Lebanon. Notice you're not in the tornado warning polygon. There's Missouri 5 that can take you up north to Camdenton, or you could go south where Missouri 5 does encompass a tornado warning around areas like Russ, Pease, and Evergreen. It includes Agnes, and it kind of rides along the northeastern polygon, right along Missouri Highway 32. That could take you from Lebanon all the way down to Lynchburg in the southeastern corner of the county. Dry Knob, you're not officially technically in the polygon, but if you got a Dry Knob address, play it safe than sorry here, because given the history of what these storms have done, we could easily see this try to spin something up again pretty fast. So let's go ahead and be in our safe place. Not too far from Clark Ford either. So we're going to focus in on that southwestern corner here. Ron, go ahead. What do you have?
Yeah, so in reading the messages from the National Weather Service, what they've done is they've removed the observed tornado language.
Goodness, thank you.
So what they've done is this is basically a radar-indicated type of tornado that's in the Conway area. They're still seeing some circulation on the north side of that bow echo, and so they want to continue that tornado warning into southwestern Laclede County because of that. And again, you're talking about something that's going to be pretty small and rain-wrapped, and those things tend to spin up and spin down. And so that's what makes them very dangerous, because you don't ever get anything on radar that really totally gives you big confidence that you have a tornado on the ground, but you know that something's going on because of the really high wind fields.
Mm-hmm. And it is encouraging, Ron, that you did say that we've lost the confirmed status of a tornado in progress here, but we need to remember, everybody, that given the history of this storm, if you remember back an hour or so ago, these were storms right on top of Joplin that, before it tried to spin anything up, produced wind gusts of up to 72 miles per hour, and that's observed, by the way, at the Joplin Regional Airport. Looks like they covered a little more of Laclede County here, so let's look at the details on that one. Wonder if it's for a different part of the line or maybe the same one. Capable of producing tornado located over Lebanon. Well, that's a new one here. So let's go ahead, quickly take a look at velocities here to see. Well, you can argue not too far to the southwest of Lebanon along Missouri Highway 32. That's a really localized spot. If we can zoom in a little bit tighter near Normandy Drive, let's say English Road and Edison Road, some of those rural parts of Laclede County, that's where one rotation for sure is trying to spin up. So actually, it looks like we may have, and you could correct me if I'm wrong here, Ron, looks like two rotations along the line that's prompting these warnings here. And let's see, the second one still doesn't look particularly too impressive upon first impressions here, but just to the north of Highway J and just west of Highway PP, not too far between Phillipsburg and Conway, that's 1 week rotation that looks a little less impressive for now, but this is certainly a very fluid, like you said, Ron, situation here, and a very dynamic situation where now that we have a brand new tornado warning that does include downtown Lebanon, and I would imagine if it's not being obscured by rain, we could probably hopefully take a look at the camera.
Yeah, I have
from
the
our side of
Lebanon camera up,
Yeah,
Nick, if you want it.
let me see if I can quickly pull it up. Oh, there it is right there.
There it is right there.
Ron, is this looking west toward downtown
yeah,
Lebanon, north
looking,
of the Jefferson exit?
It's looking a little west-northwest from the Mercy Hospital. And so you are looking down towards the downtown Lebanon area. And so what we don't notice is we don't notice any power flashes, with the exception of the lightning that's out there. So that bodes well for any tornado damage, at least for the time being. Again, it may not be quite within the city of Lebanon just yet, as you were pointing out on the radar images, but it is a pretty nasty storm. You can see the lightning is almost continuous with that, and notice the winds.
Yeah, that
are
camera
really
dancing in the wind,
jostling the camera around down there. And again, that is on top of the Mercy Hospital on the south side of Lebanon, kind of on the southeast side of town. There are some trucks out there on I-44. They're probably not a good idea. They probably need to pull over there at Highway 5 and maybe get off the road a little bit. Because that wind appears to be really strong in the Lebanon area. Also, one thing you notice, Nick, is that the lights in town went out. Now, I'm not sure if that's because we have a power outage in downtown Lebanon or the rain is so heavy that it's all of a sudden obscured the lights, but the lights just went out and the power went out or appeared to go out in downtown Lebanon. So that may be because of those really high winds have taken down some sort of a high tension line or transformer. I didn't see any power flashes with that, but again, it appears that power is out in a large portion of Lebanon right now.
Yeah, certainly all the more reason why to have multiple ways of getting the warning too, because if you do lose power in this case, you've got a NOAA weather radio for a great backup, and of course our KY3 First Alert weather app. Yes, a battery-powered NOAA weather radio, and for the time being though, we've got at least some power still ongoing near the, I believe that's
going to be by
the
Get and Go.
The Get and Go gas station. Right and whatever's providing the power at the hospital seems to be keeping our camera up. So I'm not sure if we're getting obscured by the rain here. So if we can, let's just go back to the radar.
We're not seeing hardly any. We notice a truck has stopped on I-44 there. I don't know if you can see that. But now the rain is so heavy that you can barely see the interstate, and that's only about a quarter mile away, and the winds look like they've really picked up there at the camera site on top of the hospital there in Mercy Hospital. So if you live in Lebanon, you have one wicked storm that's currently in progress up there in Laclede County. That is just absolutely crazy to witness tonight.
Yeah, and not only that, you folks at home can help us out too, where given how all of I-44, as we go back to radar, is under a tornado warning, even though these individual circulations may not be over the interstate for the entire duration, you've got pretty powerful winds pushing 70 miles per hour, maybe still a little bit higher as these storms continue to chug along. So if you know anybody either coming from Springfield, maybe heading up toward Waynesville or St. Louis tonight on 44, if you know people coming the other way, call them if you can. Tell them to either exit near Waynesville or St. Robert, pull over to the gas station to let these storms hopefully pass on through. Or if you know anybody coming up I-44 from Springfield, you might as well have them stop near Marshfield before they get into really potent winds here. Before we break down the analysis even more here, we got a fresh update from our Paul Adler here about more power outages coming up. It looks like Greene County in total so far has about 560 customers without power. Dallas County is up to 770 outages, and Camden County is reporting 758 as well. And in terms of the overall state, if we refer to poweroutage.us, which our Paul Adler is checking behind the scenes, at last check, 4,600 customers without power. So again, this is going to take some time for power to get restored, hopefully sooner rather than later, as soon as electric crews are safe to go out and get power restored. So I'll set this notepad aside here. So let's just get a fresh look at the tornado warnings in progress here. First, the original tornado warning covering the southern parts of Laclede County is still in place until 11:45, and thankfully that's radar indicated. And the tornado warning that recently went out, which covers Lebanon, is also out for 11:45. So we're going to again, well, I think it's pretty easy. I think it's easier to say who's not involved in the tornado warning polygon. Once you work away from Lebanon on Missouri Highway 5, areas like Eldridge, Corkery, Bidwell, north of Carroll Junction, you're not involved in this. But as soon as you take Highway 5 past the Lebanon High School, downtown Lebanon, you'll still want to be in your safe place, even though those rotations are passing mainly just to your south of Elm Street, and beginning to work over Missouri Highway 5, which will take you down south to Evergreen. We have the very southeastern corner of Laclede County, including Lynchburg, Nebo, South 3rd, and where Missouri 32 either goes east toward Roby, or where Missouri Highway 95 can take you eventually all the way down to about Dawson. So with that said, we're going to take another closer look First of all, even though these rotations don't look impressive on radar, even though these storms are looking a little bit weaker, probably due to the higher beam as the radar goes farther out to reach these storms. Let's just double check and make sure that we're not seeing any debris being wafted. And thankfully, I'm just seeing messy returns on here. This does not look like anything leading to any confirmed tornadoes here. But you can see the leading edge, how it is continuing to plow along the central and working into the eastern parts of Laclede County. So once you go north of Carroll Junction and continue south on 44, past the exit that allows you to get off at that gas station and near Mercy Hospital in Lebanon, downtown Lebanon, you are in the thick of the rain and maybe some small hail. Plus, I wouldn't be shocked if winds behind the leading edge of the storm still try to push between 50, 60, maybe 65 miles per hour. And then the intensity of this rain passes near Caffeyville, Russ, knocking on the door to Evergreen. But I'll say if you're in Phillipsburg or Conway, we can technically go ahead and give you the all clear. But before I can doubly make sure of that, let's just pull up reflectivities or velocities here. Yep, those areas of rotation have moved away from Phillipsburg and Conway, so we will give them the all clear here.
Yeah, Nick, the winds up
Ron.
there just east of Lebanon down to just west of Competition are running right around 55 miles per hour.
And Paul actually brought to my attention, if we could take the touch source, if we will, because Paul managed to pull up the MoDOT camera at I-44 and Conway. You can see quite a bit of lightning still brightening up the skies as best as we can to see if anything is happening. It looked really promising about traffic looking pretty minimal, but we still see, we see maybe a couple of emergency flashers trying to pop up along the interstate. And it looks like some people on one of the exit ramps are pulling over and wisely waiting the storm out, which is thankfully what we want people to do. Just let these storms pass. And if you're going west on 44, all you need to do is let them pass, give them, to play it safe, 20, maybe 30 minutes, and then you can continue on your journey toward the south and west. In the meantime, I want to go back to Max 1, if we could, please. And let's just do, actually, let's look at this fresh news severe thunderstorm.
One more thing,
Ron,
too.
go ahead.
There's a report in the area of Highway 64 and 65, so that's going to be just to the north of the Buffalo area, just a little bit west of Pumpkin Center, Nick, that they've received almost 2 inches of rain in these storms tonight, and so that is going to create a flooding situation as more thunderstorms move back into that area. So we're now starting to not only see the winds and the lightning, but potential flood situation. So really not a good night for people to be out traveling at all.
Yeah, it's something that we haven't had a chance to touch on a lot, but as Ron said, it's a very valid threat that in addition to these storms for just a little bit longer, producing a wind, hail, and potential tornado threat, as these storms just take their time trying to come through, all these repeated bouts of heavy rainfall could lead to, again, localized flooding, which is why we have stressed so many times in our severe weather prep stories that we did back in March. If you encounter any flooded roads, especially at night, it's best to just play it safe, turn around, don't drown, find another way to safely get to your destination. Now, let's touch base on this new severe thunderstorm warning, which is encompassing more of the northeastern parts of the Ozarks. And I'll tell you, it does clip northern parts of Texas County, mainly north of Hartville, northern Texas County, north of Houston, which does include Roby. And it's including the western half, if you will, not just quite the downtown Raleigh yet, but it does include 63 as you take you down to Edgar Springs. And it doesn't cover much, if not all of Pulaski County, including Fort Leonard Wood. And if these rotations try to hold, I wouldn't be shocked if we had another tornado warning go out for a Fort Leonard Wood. And it might have, if that unfolds, Ron, it might have been a while since Fort Leonard Wood probably went under a tornado warning. We probably have to go back to, like New Year's Eve, 2010, 2011, probably.
Yeah, and folks up there, they know all about the tornadoes, so they'll be taking shelter for certain if something crops up. One of the things with the lower end of that line, Nick, is that the outflow boundary has kind of moved away, and I think that's going to diminish any threat for tornadoes tonight. And so again, I think this is going to transition more into a high wind threat over the next hour or two. until this line of thunderstorms can catch up and surpass the outflow boundary. So certainly the outflow boundary moving out kind of protects us from that tornado threat. So that is actually very good news.
Absolutely right. And you've seen that many a time happen, Ron, and so have I over the 15 years that I've done this. Anytime we get a batch of storms like this that starts to become outflow dominant, like Ron said, we lower the tornado threat, but we still need to keep our guard up for still some potential high wind gusts, heavy rain, and a little bit of large hail. So let's touch base quickly before we see if any fresh updates come from Paul here. And if we could actually take care of, where's my query button? Here it is. That fresh new severe thunderstorm warning, again, which we covered, is for all of Pulaski, the western half of Phelps, northern Texas, northern Wright, and the eastern parts of Laclede County, including the southeastern tip of Camden County. That runs until midnight. And thankfully, the Weather Service doesn't see a tornado possible tag with this warning. And this is certainly an encouraging sign. It looks as though the outflow is really cutting down on the tornado threat. But still, anybody in this severe thunderstorm warning polygon as far north as Dixon, as far east as Rolla, just keep an eye out for 60-mile-per-hour winds and some possible quarter-size hail. But let's go back in the meantime while we still have these tornado warnings in place. Let's see if we do have any signs of weak rotation. From a rough perspective here, if we do have a couple of spots, and I think this would work better too if I temporarily took off the warnings. And if we focus just on the velocity queries, gate-to-gate shear with the rotation near Hazel Green before 44 crosses the Gasconade River. It's not particularly strong, 31 miles per hour, so that is good to see that rotation on the downward trend. And there's still, you could argue, a little bit of something southwest of Dry Knob, south of Missouri Highway 32, and to the northeast of Evergreen. That rotation, if we were to put a measure on it, it's about 6 miles northeast of Evergreen proper. But if we take a closer look, that rotation is lifting northeast between Highway B and Highway Z, just to the south of Dry Knob. And just to do our due diligence here, if I can get the right query tool, we can just take a look to see if any shear or gate-to-gate shear values pop up. It looks like there's some impressive values here. 51 miles per hour with the strongest of the winds blowing toward the radar at about 23 miles per hour. And some of these returns going away from the radar, let's say anywhere from 10 to about 30 miles per hour. So at that level, doesn't look particularly impressive. And I think I did see hopefully not a new tornado warning pop up. Let's just make sure. I think that was just for an update on a tornado warning, unless if we take a wide view of things, just to make sure we're not missing out on anything here. I think it was just involving an update on the tornado warnings in progress. So behind the scenes, I'm just going to double check. Let's see. Oh, sorry, what was that, Ron?
I don't see any new tornado warnings.
Okay, that's a good thing. So that indication we got on the screen here, it might just be an update to a tornado warning or two in progress. The southern warning for Laclede County with that rotation that was originally near Conway and Phillipsburg, still going to try to hold on until 11:45. And for the polygon working away from eventually Hazel Green and Lebanon, haven't seen a fresh update on that. So thankfully, it is encouraging that so far the only two tornado warnings we have are radar indicated. And again, just to make sure if anyone happens to be just joining us, here's a quick wide overview of how the radar looks overall. The northern half of the Ozarks is seeing the brunt of the action at about 11:33 on this late Monday night. Thankfully, as this thin green line here, that's the outflow, that's undercutting the storms and interrupting their chance to produce any tornadoes, which, as Ron said earlier, and what I've seen in the years that I've been doing this, is a darn good thing. We want that tornado threat to continue to drop, but But we're still going to keep a close eye on these tornado warnings, still in effect for mainly the southern half of Laclede County from Hazel Green, Lebanon, and then working back down south. So severe thunderstorm warning stretching from Laclede County, clipping southeastern Camden, northern Texas, northern Wright, and then working toward all of Pulaski and western Phelps counties until we get to about a little bit later this evening. We're going to step off here for just a moment and head to the touch where Ron Hirsch has something to show us. Ron, what do you have?
Well, thanks, Nick. You know, earlier the storm, of course, went across Polk County, and we had the tornado warnings out for areas from Pleasant Hope down towards Fair Grove, and then that's the storm that's been moving through the Lebanon area. We have received a report of a metal building being destroyed in the Pleasant Hope area. This looks like kind of one of those pole barn type structure type buildings, and wouldn't be unusual for some stronger winds to cause some damage to those types of facilities. This is also appears to be kind of a smaller section. It's a little hard to tell exactly, but it looks like about some 15 feet, maybe 18 feet of metal has been destroyed from there. You can see there's also some additional structural damage. There's the homeowner checking things out there tonight as well. So again, we have had some structural damage due to the high winds across the area. Now, again, we don't want you to go out and take pictures of this while the storm is ongoing. Wait until the end, and then go ahead and use the KY3 First Alert weather app to snap that and send those photographs to us, and that way that gives us permission to use them on the air. But again, we really want to thank everybody who's been sending weather information to us tonight through the weather app submission or sending us emails. It really helps us with the storm. We've been passing along some of that information to the National Weather Service. So again, thank you very much for doing that. If you do get hail tonight, remember to include some sort of a coin with that. The hail size has kind of come down a little bit, so include a coin next to that so we know exactly how big the hail is. And we want to thank everybody who did that with the golf ball size hail earlier this evening. But again, you can see we've had some high winds and some damage. Now, we also received a picture earlier this evening from Stockton. We had a roof blown off of a metal barn building. We've had some damage due to the hail tonight. There's been some siding damage and some windows broken because of the large hail. And again, as Nick's been telling you, we've had strong thunderstorms with some very high winds now moving across sections of Laclede, Pulaski, Texas, and northern Wright counties. Nick, I'm going to go ahead and throw that back over to you.
All right.